Zach Glass here with Video Journal 7 for BPT 110. Going into the first video, social media strategy. The main thing that popped out to me in that video was that 67% of Americans are using Facebook for their primary source of news. That's disconcerting to me, to say the least, for many reasons. I don't have a Facebook anymore. One of the reasons that I dropped Facebook was because of the spread of misinformation on that platform. It's hard to tell. It's hard to sift through all of the opinion and the, excuse my language, BS on there to find what's actual fact, what's been sourced properly. I believe personally 99% of what's on there is opinion based for the most part, and if you can get through that 99% of the crap and find what's actual legit news, more power to you. But I can guarantee you, out of the 6-7% of Americans that are using it for their primary source of news, not many of them are are vetting what they're consuming on there for news properly. Moving on before I go down that rabbit hole. Another thing that stood out to me, it kind of goes along with how I feel with Facebook being the Americans' primary source of news. 60% of Americans' primary source of news. YouTube is the second largest search engine, apparently. Didn't know that. I had no clue. Would have never thought that. I just thought Google. I mean, you think of search engine, you don't think YouTube. So hopefully that doesn't mean that people are using YouTube the same way that they would use Google to find information. It just seems like it'd be a little bit of a convoluted strategy to find things. I mean, I would watch a video to find, a recipe for something where you can just find it on Google and that's your recipe. I would never go to YouTube and use it as a search engine. So maybe I'm taking that one the wrong way. But moving on to the second video, 5 crazy ways social media is changing your brain. Phantom vibration syndromes. That's what stood out to me personally, because I suffer from that. Didn't know it had a name, but I suffer from that. I'll feel my phone vibrate, and it happens more than it said. It happens to most people once every 2 weeks. I feel like it happens more than that to me. So hopefully that doesn't mean my brain is being rewired by my smartphone. I'm not going to say that I'm not on my phone a lot, so it's definitely a possibility. It's just crazy to think that a perceived itch or some type of a nerve vibration in our hip or thigh will make us reach for our phone thinking it's vibrating, because I guess they're so far in our subconscious now that they're controlling how we perceive itches and muscle twitches and things like that. It's a little freaky to think about. So let's move on before I go down that rabbit hole. Top 10 social media networks video. I've seen that video before. Cool video. I haven't really watched it, closely enough to pick anything out. So I went through it a few times. And the main thing that I came out with is the rate of growth for these new platforms is insane when you compare it to the rate of growth of the platforms in the early 2000s, like MySpace, which is what I came up with. So MySpace, at its peak, had 72 million. And to me, when I was a kid, MySpace was gargantuan, unfathomably big to me. I just couldn't get over it. And 72 million. That is nothing compared to where these are at today. Facebook and YouTube I think are close to 2 billion now, if not over. So that's not even comparison. But the rate of growth is really what I want to look at here. TikTok specifically. It's been around a little over 2 years now, and it's at 800 million to this day. I Googled that because it peaked at about, the video stopped at about 600 million for TikTok, but the video was 2019. It is at 800 million now, a little over 3 years in. Compare that to Facebook. It took Facebook over 6 years to reach 500 million, and TikTok has cut that in half. So how do you explain that? I think one way to explain it is a stat you could find in the social media fact sheet. Just carrying over to that, 45% of people over the age of 65 are using at least one form of social media. I wouldn't have believed that if you told me. It just doesn't seem like they're that involved. But when you take a step back and look, I watched a TikTok commercial yesterday, and it had one of the members of Fleetwood Mac. It actually had Stevie Nicks and the lead male voice and guitarist of Fleetwood Mac, on their commercial as spokespeople for TikTok. And I know they're both over 60. They have to be. So their target audience now for some of these platforms is that age group. And I think that's a brilliant strategy, actually, when you think about it, to try to hit that, because there's 55% of people that aren't. So if you hit that demographic hard, you're going to skyrocket, because the young kids are already all over that. And maybe that's what's happening, because you notice with a lot of these, Instagram was also another one that it started off big in the 15 to 29 demographic. And that's where it had its bread. That's where it made its bread and butter. And then now, Instagram is pretty much used by all demographics. So TikTok started with the younger demographic, but the amount of time it took Instagram to hit that higher demographic is significantly longer than the amount of time it took TikTok to hit that. So all in all, between that social media networks video showing the rate of growth of all of these, and then the social media fact sheet, I think that's the difference here. Is more people in those older demographics are using social media platforms, which makes that rate of growth just that much faster, literally twice as fast mathematically. A couple more things I found in that social media fact sheet that I thought were pretty cool. I was comparing income, education, gender, and race between the amount of use or the usage of social media. Income had pretty much no effect. Didn't really surprise me. Race had no effect. Didn't really surprise me. The two that did kind of surprise me, education had a surprising effect. Just under 20% difference between high school diploma or less and college graduate. I thought about that for a while. I think the main reason there's a disparity there is because if you have a high school diploma or less, you're more likely to work a manual labor job, and those type of jobs, you don't really have the energy or time to play around on social media, I would say. The next thing that there was a little bit of a difference that surprised me is there's a good little bit of a disparity between male and female usage. More females use social media than males. I thought about this. I can't think of a good reason why more females use social media than men, other than they're seeking approval and appreciation via social media. Don't know if that makes me sound sexist. I don't mean it in a sexist way, but I think that might be the only reason I could think of why more females will use social media than men. Not saying men don't use it for the same reason. I think everybody uses it for that reason, but I think there might be more females using it because the beauty standards set up in our society definitely affect females more than men, and social media definitely compounds that, in my opinion. And women might seek that type of approval for the beauty standards on social media more than men do, so they might use it more. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. Maybe I'm way off on that. I'm going to go ahead and end the video. I'm already 8 minutes like I always am. I'll see you in class. Have a great week.